The 2021 Formula One season has gotten underway with a phenomenal display of showmanship in the form of exciting racing and off-track reputations. Now, 2 races are generally not enough to make a judgment, but if the races are going to continue the way they have till now, it looks like we're going to have a really exciting and closely matched championship across the 2021 F1 calendar. Contrary to last year's unorthodox calendar, this year has a more or less clearly laid out one. However, we have seen a last-minute replacement of the Canadian GP for the Istanbul street circuit. So it looks like F1's dynamic nature is once again painting itself across this year's racing canvas. Now, one track which is quite a warm welcome back this year is the race at Portimao, due to take place this very weekend. Now, for this analysis, we'll use a Formula C spec car in Project Cars 2 to get a ballpark performance overview for the track. So let's dive into a lap around the Algarve circuit. Now, we start off the flying lap with the main straight. The undulations on the track surface make the circuit quite tricky to maneuver through and is similar to tracks like Zandvoort and the Istanbul racing circuit. Now, the braking zone for the first corner starts close to the end of the dip near turn 1, which requires extra rear end stability in order to maintain balance. This is because weight will transfer forwards, more so due to the inclination in addition to the inertial load transfer under braking. Now, front bias braking is paramount here, as the rear brakes have a high chance of locking up. This would also require either a reasonably high ride height or extra stiff springs to prevent the car from bottoming out. Now, the curves are relatively flat, as you can see here, and in turn 2, and it is taken on mid-throttle as shown in the throttle track map that I've displayed up on the screen. Now, turn number 3 is a slow speed flat corner at the entry, and no noticeable steering characteristics will be observed at the apex. But as we exit turn 3, we gear up for an uphill left-hander through turn number 4, and this is where things start to get a little tricky. The track tends to bank inwards in the run up to the apex, and it is crucial to hit this apex exactly at the middle of the curb in order to take advantage of the banking nature of the track at this point. Now, right after the apex, the track tends to not only flatten out but also camber upwards, which makes it necessary to immediately push to the right end and extend onto the exit curve. If this is not done and the car continues sticking to the inside of turn number 4, the rear end has a good chance of kicking outwards, resulting in oversteer. We continue down the straight section and gear up for corner number 5. Now, this is a hairpin which is once again situated at the bottom of the hill, with the braking zone situated right after the crest of the hill. Now, this requires a very stable rear end in order to maintain overall stability. This could potentially be stabilized better with a rear biased aero setup, which would provide momentary stability under braking. We now go through corner number 6, and it is evident here that right after the apex, the road banking direction once again flips. It is very important to stick to the inside of turn number 6 even upon exit, as this will keep the rear end of the car stable. Now, braking into corner number 7 is quite straightforward, as there is no significant track parameter to observe and the car is relatively slow going into this braking zone. Turn 8 is quite tricky as the apex is located uphill. Luckily, this corner requires quite a low corner speed, so the road camber will not really affect the car until the apex. It is important to exit the corner on the upward side of the bank, as the road will flatten out, and it is essential to keep the tire as neutrally loaded as possible at all times, as this will help in maintaining longer tire life and less temperature variations. Corner number 9 is banked inwards and hence can be taken flat out under full throttle. Corner 10 is a blind corner as it is hidden below the crest right after turn 9. Now, the braking zone here is before the crest of the hill, and hence the rear end is not under risk of losing grip. However, due to the sharp nature of this crest, the front tires have a possibility to lock up, as seen in the video. Turn 10 and 11 form as a double right-hander and the car exits downhill while picking up speed. Turn 12 banks inwards while going uphill, which enables the driver to once again take the corner flat out without worrying too much about oversaturating the tires. Now, the car starts braking right after the track flattens out for corner number 13. This corner is quite flat and no real stability characteristics are observed here. After a short segment upon exit, the car once again slows down for a long hairpin at corner 14. Now, the track starts inclining downwards as the vehicle picks up speed. Luckily, the banking and camber of the road gradually flattens out here, and it's not very likely for the car to suddenly lose grip. Now, corner 15 is deceptively simple but requires concentration to get right because it is also a blind turn. Braking needs to be done just before turning in, and the apex is hidden right after the crest of this hill. So it's important to be careful with throttle application while entering the turn. Now the rest of the corner is flat out and the track gradually flattens out, which makes acceleration ideal. Overall, the track layout may seem simple, but the variations in inclination, road camber, and banking will play a crucial role in tire life for faster vehicles like F1 cars. Overall, the downforce levels may not be very high for this track, as most of the corners are low speed except for turns number 15 and 12. Not to mention there are 2 long straights as well, so you want to have slightly less drag if you want to be the fastest car on track. It appears to be a circuit which will be very much dependent on mechanical tuning, so perhaps you want to either run a high ride height with soft springs or a low ride height with stiff springs, but that depends on the aero balance. If you have a higher downforce aero setup, then you generally want to go for higher spring stiffness, simply because you don't want the car to compress as much because of the aero loads. Brakes would work better in front bias configurations as usual. Being a track with flowing corners and inclination, softer anti-roll bars would be more suitable. However, roll stiffness is dependent on driver reaction times and preferences, so it is difficult to really generalize this. Lower power ramp angles for differentials would work well. This is because many of the apexes seem to be either directly on the curbs or around the crest of hills, making traction loss very easy upon exit. Low power ramp angles will ensure power understeer due to differential locks when the car actually exits the corner. All in all, this looks to be a very exciting track, and it will be interesting to see how pit strategies play out. It looks to be a track that will stress out the tires, especially the front left, so it'll be entertaining to see how drivers cope with it. However, that won't be a worry for the drivers. After all, they are the best in the world, and that's why they're in F1. On that note, thank you so much for watching this video. Stay tuned to the channel as we will be uploading another episode of GPS right after the Portimao race. But until then, take care and stay safe. This is Saidad signing off.